Minister Mendocino is a senior government official. He's been a member of Parliament for a significant period of time. He is a lawyer. Words matter. He spoke in the House numerous times. He gave speeches in the House numerous times.
And we did so on the basis of non-partisan professional advice from law enforcement. And it was only after police told us that they needed this special power to ensure that they could restore public safety.
Responded to questions, did press releases, went on television.
Only after very careful consideration on the advice of professional, non-partisan branches of law enforcement that we invoked the Emergencies Act.
And every time he did that, Mr. Stewart, he was consistent in his messaging that law enforcement asked for the use of the Emergencies Act.
Mr. Scheer, there was a very strong consensus among law enforcement that the Emergencies Act was necessary.
I don't want to speak for every last serving member of law enforcement, but there was a very strong consensus that we needed to invoke the Act.
And it was only until law enforcement testifying at this committee and other committees flat out refuted that statement.
Did yourself or anyone in the OPS request the invocation of the Emergency Act?
I did not make that request. I'm not aware of anybody else in the Ottawa Police Service who did.
Did we hear a change in Minister Mendocino by stating they were consulting with law enforcement?
We were in the midst and in the throes of an unprecedented public order emergency in the opinion of nonpartisan professional law enforcement, and when we sought their advice about which powers were needed to restore public safety, we listened to it and we invoked to restore public safety.
My question to you is, were you yourself responsible or members of your office responsible in terms of giving Minister Mendocino those words that law enforcement asked for the Emergencies Act on numerous occasions?
We don't script the minister, sir.
Who does?
The minister speaks for himself.
The minister prepares his own notes?
I do believe he was misunderstood, because when you say on the advice of law enforcement, the advice does not necessarily have to be about asking them.
It wasn't on the advice.
Act.
Listen to my question very carefully. He is on record, and I don't have enough time to repeat verbatim what he has stated on the record, that they asked for, law enforcement asked for the Emergencies Act. Not law enforcement consulted with the government as an option to deal with the protest, to deal with the invocation of the act. They had asked for it. If you knew he was misconstruing those words, why didn't you inform Minister Mendocino to clarify that in the House or to clarify that in the public?
I serve the minister, and I'm not at liberty to discuss the advice I provide him, but I can tell you that I think he was misunderstood, and I believe that the intention that he was trying to express was that law enforcement asked for the tools that were contained in the Emergencies Act.
So it wasn't just Minister Mendocino who was misconstrued or misunderstood. It was the Prime Minister. It was Minister Blair. It was Minister Lametti. It was probably members of the Liberal caucus who all used that same talking point that law enforcement asked for it. Was the entire government misunderstood, Mr. Stewart? Canadians want transparency here. Who is giving directions to the government if it's not your department?
Mr. Chair, just on a point of order, I think this witness is here to testify with respect to public safety and the advice you would have given to Minister Mendocino.
He has the ability to answer the questions. He's been doing it quite capably all meeting.
I don't think that question is relevant in terms of his expertise.
I rule it in order, and he can answer the question.
The public service does not give direction to the government, sir.